I started just following passion. You know, I built this Model A, and I didn't want to do a real job anymore. I just wanted to build cars. And what I love about it is the cars have a history, they have a story. The people that own them are passionate about them for whichever reason, you know, whether it's four-wheel drive or something fast or something just cool. And I just enjoy being able to manage it and then making sure the customer gets a good experience by, you know, keeping them away from the shops that don't do that for them. This is kind of the construction zone or the fab zone where all of our big equipment is. So this is a 1958 Packard Hawk. Packard and Studebaker merged, so there's a Studebaker Golden Hawk and a Packard Hawk. I think they made like less than 600 of them, so it's pretty cool. This is a 70 Blazer, just a simple restoration, metal, all metal's done, and then an LS, and just simple and clean. The guy lives in Arizona, so he just wants to cruise around. So this is a car I built in my garage. I started on it probably, I don't know, 07, 08. I built it Johnny Cash style, one piece at a time, with minimal tools, minimal budget, and literally just kind of self-taught. I just would read about what I needed to do and practice till I figured it out and fix it when it didn't work. And anyway, did that just as a hobby because I wanted to, and then turned into a business. I feel like a circus manager sometimes. We have about 25 projects and 12 employees, so I run the shop is the easiest way to say that, and sometimes I get to make metal and weld things. I do not have a metal shaping background. As cheesy as it may sound, it was Motorcycle Mania, and Jesse James was building that copper bike, and he went out and was at Fay Butler's, and he was showing all the tools he was using. When I started working on the car, I got on metal shaping forums and read and bought all the hammers that I could afford and just started figuring it out. So this is a Dino 246 GT. It was in a fire. It was a mess. Somebody did not love on the car, and it was pretty beat up. So we're taking good care, making it back to its proper condition. This is a 52 Chevy. It's on a no limit engineering chassis. It's on air ride, so it sits pretty low. This was one of those high school father-son builds back in the 80s and 90s. The guy that owns it is basically restoring it back. It'll go back to the same color it was, except we were doing an LT1 motor and a pretty trick tilt-out bed and some neat stuff. We don't do a lot of stuff like this, but it's a super slammed big tire truck, Coyote motor and a lay rocker build, and sounded like a fun project. So we're in the kind of final assembly on it. This is a 69 Firebird, Ride Tech suspension. It's doing an LT4 motor. We're doing a whole bunch of custom sheet metal, a lot of Pullmax detail work in here. We did the Trans Am hood. We modified the front grille to get rid of that ugly rubber and stuff like that. I started off with Craigslist. I found a Harbor Freight sheet metal brake. And on Craigslist, I got a bead roller, a no-name brand, you know, hand crank one, and a shrinker stretcher, and just hand shear and a leather bag eventually, and then an English wheel eventually. It was probably within the first 6 or 8 months I bought the Baileigh mag brake because I needed more capability. So that would have been the first one. All right, so this is kind of the metal fab area. Like, everybody has to have a shrinker stretcher, so we've had this tool long enough to knock most of the powder coating off of it. I don't know how you could function as a fabrication guy without one of these, and I think we actually have a request from some others that we have 2, so we don't have to change dies. Not sure if they need another one, but we might need another one. We bought this this bead roller. Was pretty huge, and so we thought that we needed all this room, and then turns out most of the work we're doing with it is right here. We use this tipping die after you get a Pullmax, you don't really use step dies in a bead roller that much. I mean, we do, but not as often. So this thing has a couple cool features with you'll be able to pick it up and set it down, and that way you're not cranking it out, and then the arm's adjustable in and out, so we can make a lot more adjustments. And so it's kind of a beastly little bead roller. Power hammer. We got in on one of those, I think Baileigh did a special price on the first 10, so I think we have the number 6. I had to have one, mainly because I got tendonitis in my elbow from swinging a hammer into the wooden stump. Ended up putting ice on my elbow every day, and then bought this guy. So I think they said that thing weighs 17 pounds, and it kind of flings it at 1,200 RPMs, so it'll move some metal. Pullmax, This is one of those tools that you just can't find them hardly, and when you find one, you have to just kind of accept what you get. So this is a good way to learn how to make your scrap metal guy happy, because you mess up a lot of metal figuring out how to make it work. A Baileigh magnetic brake. I want to say I've had this thing about 9 years. It takes a lot of abuse. We've basically beat it up enough that the powder coating's off of most of it. It's the disc sander, and a couple of guys have learned that this thing will eat your part if it's small and you're not careful, and then you have to almost take it apart to get down in there and get it out. That thing's turned on probably 20 times a day. It does a great job of quick, sanding and shaping up parts. Monster louver press, because you have to have louvers in a hot rod shop. We use different dimple dies, and that allows us to line them up and run the bolts in and out. And we use it mostly for that, because we're doing a lot of decorative pieces in the metals. Probably one of the tools that I was excited the most to get was that power hammer. I had 2 projects where I was just doing a lot of hand tuck shrinking. So I was using the old tried and true wooden stump method, but I was getting the work done. It was just very time consuming, and I just set my mind to owning something that moved metal faster than I could, and being able to use that tool to tuck shrink things has expanded what I can do, what I know how to do, things that we can say, yes, we can make that, and like the stretching feature for making transmission tunnels. I mean, it's just really changed things. The mag brake, I don't think you can get by without that, right? And then the shrinker stretcher, you have to have 2, as we discussed. So I know, just personally, just even outside of the car industry, some of the metal artists and then just like production metal fab, like I being a guy who likes tools, I remember a post that Baileigh posted of a guy that bought the CNC tubing bender and bent up a bunch of handrails for ambulances. And I was, man, that's cool, I need one of those. And so I think that the Baileigh doing the work that they're doing to show tools allows people to see what you can do with them, and then you're not the only weird guy that wants to own a power hammer when you see a bunch of other shops have one. I know that when I'm looking at tools, I know that I can look at the product line itself, and I know that they've designed things for what I need them to do. I know that I can count on them to show me tools that maybe they're marketing to me and I don't know I need it, but then they make me want it. But I know that when I'm trying to solve a tool gap problem in the shop, I know I can look through that catalog and see high level to low level amount of equipment that is designed for the type of productivity we're looking for. So this is kind of our finish room. This is where all of our final assembly, or what we would, call it clean work. This is a 62 Oldsmobile Starfire. The customer owns like 6 of these. So it's a 1-year only car. It's unique. And we thought we were gonna play heck getting parts, and he's like, no, I'll bring you another one. Now you have a piece of trim that's not right, and he's like, I'll just bring you another one. So this guy's been collecting new old stock parts for this car since the 70s when you could buy them at the dealership. And he knows everything you could possibly know about this car. So when we don't know what the answers are, we just call him and he knows the answer. It's super cool. It's on air and it has an LT1 motor, and then everything else about it will be original. This is a 73 Bronco. We did a complete rebuild on it. It was a frame off restoration. Everything underneath it's been completely redone. All the metal's been redone, painted a pearl white. So out front, we just cleaned this Merc up. We're in the 500 break-in miles on it. So we've got, it's an old build. The guy that owns it had it in the 80s. It was, I think it was Kenny Baker chopped it, a guy in Oklahoma, right? And so he took it apart in his garage, and then it got buried in there. And then he retired, and we've had it a while, and we've redone the drivetrain and the suspension, and we had it painted. This was the last car that we had painted before we started doing paint in-house. And yesterday I had it out cruising around doing shakedown miles on it and making a list of what all it needs to be ready to go home. So we're gonna be rolling this one out the door here next week or so. So this is a truck that we built. The owner, they wanted to take it before it was finished, and we let them take it for a show, and then life got busy for them and got in the way a little bit, and it finally got back to us to get finished. So we're buttoning up some interior stuff and some glass stuff. So this is the paint room. So this is the booth, and then this is where pretty much they'll only do wet sanding, try to keep the dirt down. Having them separated by a wall just keeps the mess away as much as possible. So this is our mixing bank. So when we finally got to this, it was really nice to be able to just mix colors on the fly. The customer can come in and say they want a color, and while they're standing here, we can mix the paint and do a color sample spray out for them and let them help them pick a color for a car. So it's really nice to walk them in and be able to do that. I don't know if anybody sets out to know what their legacy will be. I'm not sure if anybody does that on purpose. I know, God, probably 6 or 8 years ago, one of the legends had either passed away or it was their birthday or something like that, and the guys in the break room were all talking about the cars that man built. And I don't remember, it could have been Barris, could have been Winfield, but everyone was on the internet looking up their cars. And just throughout the 10 years we've had the shop, it's like when one of the greats passes and everyone talks about 4 or 5 cars that they built that are legendary. And I feel like, you know, if you could have that as a legacy, I think I've got 2 cars that I built already that are going to kind of be out there for a while, and I kind of have it in my head that I'd like to have 10 of those. So I got 8 more to do. So.